Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is directed by Peyton Reed and stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, and Jonathan Majors. When the Lang and Pym families get sucked into the quantum realm, they must find a way to return home while avoiding the ever-present eyes of Kang the Conqueror. I actually really enjoy the first two Ant-Man movies. I mean, okay, they're not two of Marvel's best movies, but as sort of lower grade standalone side stories, you could do a hell of a lot worse than these films. Which is why when the trailers for Quantumania were released and they looked so big and grand and the movie actually looked epic, it caught me completely off guard. I was actually really anticipating this movie, which even as someone who liked the Ant-Man movies to begin with, I didn't expect to do. And it even surprised me more when this movie did not get the best reviews. I'm pretty sure right now on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has like a 50%. And I do understand that, yeah, Marvel fatigue and superhero fatigue is slowly but surely becoming a thing, but 50% for a movie with trailers as epic as these? Surely this can't be real. This has to be a case of Rotten Tomatoes just getting it all wrong, and you know where this is going. Yeah, they were not very wrong. I mean, I don't hate this movie, but at the same time, yeah, there are a lot of problems with it. Okay, so before I get into what I didn't like about the movie, what did I like? Because to be fair, everything good about this movie is actually really great. Starting with, oddly enough, the effects. Nowadays, a lot of people love to make fun of Marvel movies for how bad their effects have gotten. And while a lot of that I do agree is warranted, some of that I do think is just being harsh for the sake of being harsh. And in this movie, even though there are a couple moments where the effects look very green screen obvious, most of the time it looked really good. And I think the main reason why the effects looked really good is because the quantum realm itself is a really cool location. It's a vast array of different landscapes and peoples and designs for both, and I really got sucked into not this world because they clarify it's a universe. I got sucked into this universe very quickly, and although I would have liked them to explore way more of it, I do understand, yes, there is a story that needs to happen. The action is really cool too, and there are a lot of great set pieces, but that you already knew by now. That is a cliche to say about a Marvel movie. What isn't cliche to say is Kang the Conqueror. He was teased at the end of the first season of Loki, and when we finally see Kang the Conqueror here, he is just as awesome as I hoped. He's a powerhouse, he's a sophisticate, and even though you don't know a ton about his backstory, the way that Jonathan Majors just carries himself in every scene, like he is just larger than life and so much more important than any single character that surrounds him, just makes Kang feel like he is almost above Thanos in a regard. He's powerful, he's intimidating, there's a lot of subtlety to the performance, and he never says any jokes, which might not sound like a lot, but once I talk about my lesser sides of this movie, that will seem like a marvel. Pun intended. But yeah, let's get into all the things I didn't really like about the movie, because to be fair, there aren't a ton of things, but they all just sort of mesh you into a couple of umbrella categories. And it all starts with the comedy. I would honestly say that a good maybe 30% of the jokes in this movie really work, and the other 70%, I mean, they're not awful jokes, and they don't just linger around the punchline most of the time. The bad jokes in the movie are not awful, they're just And even the good jokes in the movie aren't really some of the best that Marvel's ever written. One of my favorite parts about the previous Ant-Man films was just how human Ant-Man was. He was so down to earth in both his personality and his relationships. But here, all of the chemistry between all of the actors feels very rushed and very surface level. There's never really a sense that these characters truly know each other. They are true people who love each other no matter what. Most of them just feel like they just got on set that day, were exhausted, and just wanted to get the scenes with them done as quickly as possible. The acting's not bad in the slightest, it's just that the characters are never really given the time to just sort of talk to one another and for us to see their very human sides. And because of that, a lot of the characters feel wasted. I mean, this movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Hope is barely focused on. You don't get a lot of time with Hank either. Bill Murray is in the movie for like a scene, and that's it. And MODOK is in the movie. I don't know why he's in the movie. He does nothing, but MODOK's there. So there's that. And the movie just feels so rushed. Again, even though the quantum realm is such a beautiful looking place with so much imagination clearly put into it, we don't get a lot of time centered around just exploring the place. And even in the real world, in the first third of the movie, scratch that, no, we actually get like 10 minutes only in the real world before we're thrust into the quantum realm. And even though I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people who didn't like the first two Ant-Man movies that are going to love that, I absolutely hated it. Mainly because this was the perfect opportunity for us to get to see Scott and Cassie have this new dynamic. I mean, this is the first time that we've seen these characters since the events of Endgame, where Cassie went from an 11-year-old to a 16-year-old. This was the perfect opportunity for us to see just how much Cassie has grown without her father. And even though, yeah, we get like one scene of random exposition in the first 20 minutes of the movie, that's it. One scene of just blatant exposition in a car. And for as epic as the trailers made this movie seem, with the rise of the Kang dynasty and this being the start of it all, there's not really much about that aspect of the movie that is really that epic. There are no real consequences by the time the movie is over. And sure, there's like a mid-credit scene where they hint at the possibility that there are consequences related to this movie. That's a mid-credit scene. That's not technically part of the movie. This isn't the start of the Kang dynasty. Loki Season 1 was the start of the Kang dynasty. That introduced us to the vastness of the multiverse, and more importantly, it introduced us to Kang and his variants. That was the true start of the Kang dynasty. This feels like more of a stepping stone, and that's really where the movie faults the most. It hypes itself up as this big change in the Ant-Man trilogy when all that's really changed is the setting. And even then, once the setting is changed, everything else from the previous two movies feels lessened. To be fair, the acting is good, the action is fun, most of the effects are really well done, and Kang practically carries the movie. But the movie feels very rushed, the comedy's not very good, and most of the characters and environments feel wasted. I don't really hate the movie, and I definitely think it's worth it just to see Jonathan Majors' performance and get to see some of the quantum realm. But it just feels like wasted potential more than it does technically a bad movie. I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania a B-. I don't regret seeing it, but apart from Kang and a couple really stupid moments, it's not really that memorable. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite of the now Ant-Man trilogy? For me, it really does have to be the first one. I do feel like that has the best story, the best action, the best pacing, and just the best character work of the entire trilogy. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date for all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.